All right, it is September 14th, 2019. This is Yan Kerr. I'm here interviewing Angie Whitehurst. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the history of this neighborhood?
Well, this neighborhood was around long before me. It goes back prior to the Civil War, and this area was a large plantation that breeded slaves and horses. And later on, Abraham Lincoln bought some land. Actually, I think his Secretary of State bought the land, and they designated an area called Soldiers' Home, which is straight up the street, and it's been there since the late 1800s, after 1865, after the Civil War. And I grew up in this neighborhood. I moved in 1963 to Hamilton Street, which was the day that John F. Kennedy was assassinated. So of course the moving got stopped. And later on, decades later, my neighborhood became 16th Street Heights. But for me, I will always live in Petworth. And Petworth was a historic place because we had Roosevelt High School, we had the Petworth Library. My dance teacher, who lived a couple of blocks from here, Pamela Taylor, had one of the few black dance schools that we could go to back in the day. Her father was also one of the first ranking police officers for the Metropolitan Police Department, and her mother served as a crossing guard for the school system here in the neighborhood. So it's a very historic place for us. I don't know what else I can tell you.
Let me ask you this question. You've been here quite a long time. We're here on Upshur, between 8th and 9th. How has this area changed, this street, this block, since you were a child?
Oh, this block is totally re-gentrified. There are restaurants here. There are people who come and visit them every day. There's clothing shops. These things did not exist when I came in the neighborhood. They were small businesses. There was Hackett's Funeral Home. There was a shoe shop. There was a hair salon. All of those were black businesses that have since gone. So the black economic development, which was very good back in the day, has moved up and out. That might be because a lot of people in DC who were minorities moved out to PG County, Montgomery County, and other places. And it also could be in part due to development that paid money that could not be turned down, and they got the land for cheap or the buildings for cheap, and they renovated them and made them economically productive and brought in another group of people who bought houses and remodeled and came up with. But it's a completely different neighborhood. All the demographics have changed. It's more white than it is black. But one thing I will say about some of this re-gentrification that's different from the 60s when whites massively moved out of the city is that we have a more diverse re-gentrification. You will see people from all races, countries, colors, and creeds everywhere.
How old were you when you moved up into the neighborhood?
I think I just been in 11 by 2 months.
And where did you move from?
I moved from 128 Peabody Street Northwest. We were imminently kicked out, domained, to put a junior high school there, which was Rabeau Junior High School. And we lost our home. It was 19 families. And it was really a horrible thing. I think it was unnecessary.
And do you know why your parents chose this neighborhood to live in?
Well, there were other people that they knew who lived nearby, like 1 block away. And this neighborhood, it had they had 1 or 2 black families that lived in it, so it wasn't so racist or hostile that you couldn't survive.
I see. So when you first moved, it was predominantly white?
Predominantly white. There were a few black families. And then it became predominantly black, and now it's become predominantly white again. As I say, with a smattering of people from Africa, Ethiopia, China, France, and other places.
And how did that feel as a child, seeing the neighborhood undergo these transitions the first time around?
I think I was pretty much immune to it the first time around. I was more angry about having to lose my home, my friends, my life, in essence. So I wasn't so concerned about how and why that happened. until later in life, you know, which was racism and discrimination, of course. So my attitude and viewpoint was different. Knowing what I know now, if I had been back there, if I had that awareness then, I probably would have been arrested and in jail for protesting and committing nonviolent acts.
Do you have any favorite memories in the neighborhood?
This neighborhood, probably coming up Upshur Street to go to Pamela Taylor's dance workshop every Saturday. And I'm trying to think, and going to the Petworth Library. And then I went to Roosevelt for 2 years. So I enjoyed that, and at lunchtime I enjoyed going to a black carryout called Boeing's, where you could get a hot dog, a bag of chips, and a soda for 50 cents. I love that.
Well, moving forward, where would you like to see the neighborhood be in the next 5 years?
I would like to see it be happy, balanced, incorporating of other people. I do not want to see this neighborhood or any neighborhood in DC become a red-lined, racially segregated city. I just don't want to see that again. I think that's very unhealthy for everybody.
Any last thoughts you'd like to leave?
That's hard to say. I would hope, my focus now is maybe a little bit far removed from the neighborhood, but it's a part of the neighborhood in terms of housing, affordable housing. I'm more on a mode now to tell everybody to vote and to ask all of your elected officials or whoever you're voting for whether they support housing, what type of neighborhoods they support, what type of economic, social development they're going to help try to access people in the city. Vote. Vote to make the change, keep the change, and make it equitable and fair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.